not late. Hope your week has been good so far. We'll kick this party off in just a minute or so. Let a few more people dive in here. Alrighty, it is officially 10 a.m. on the East Coast, so we'll go ahead and kick this party off. I'll keep a close eye on the participant window, so I'm sure more people will come in as we go, but we'll go ahead and kick this off. Angela says it's only 9 here, not much coffee yet. It's practically half the day is over. It's 9 a.m. Like I set that alarm for like the 5 o'clock hour, and then you'll be like 9 a.m. It's almost lunchtime. That's awesome. I've already had my caffeine. If I'm like not up and around and caffeinated by like 8 a.m., I feel like I've been lazy. So I get a pretty early start. I try to get more done in the early morning hours when the house is quiet, and that way, no matter what else happens throughout the day, I know I did something productive, and that's always a win for me. Alrighty, so today we are going to do something a little bit different. Oh, Rhonda said she just had oral surgery. Oh goodness, I hope I hope it went well. My kiddo just had a bunch of oral surgery done 3 weeks ago as well. That's never fun. Ugh, not fun at all. I have teenagers that sleep till noon. Yep, I hear that. Got them. I got them as well. So today we're going to do something a little different. This is not so much a structured coaching call where I speak to all of you. This is going to be more of a conversation where we all speak together. So you can call it a mastermind, you can call it a conversation, you can call it whatever you want. But the goal is going to be that we all kind of share our thoughts and ideas on what's working in our specific market, right? Spread some love, spread some knowledge, and we all grow together. So we'll talk about what's working in this current market dynamic. Again, in your specific market, obviously, because real estate is hyper local. If we have time at the end, we'll talk a little bit about some listing strategies that are working to make sure you're not, overpricing, sitting on the market too long, making your sellers frustrated that things aren't moving. We'll talk a little bit about some strategies that we can put in place in that as well. But first, I want to just talk about how do we get our business in this market that has constantly evolved and changed, and things have shifted, and interest rates were up and then they were coming down and then they went back up, and inflation was coming down and now it's gone back up, and everybody's head is spinning a little bit, especially those who don't know the market dynamics. Like the average buyer and the seller, they don't know what the Fed does. They don't know how inflation and the Treasury affect mortgage. They just, when they're confused, they don't take action. Right. And that's human nature. That's basic psychology. When there's confusion or fear, there's inaction. And so how do we break through that and get people comfortable enough to make the decisions that they need to make for their stuff? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. The first question I want to ask, and please come off camera if you're able to. Sorry about that. My dog just knocked over a bunch of plaques in my office. You girls lay down, you're fine. Silly gooses. Come off camera, be engaged, like share with me. I don't want to talk to a bunch of black screens. That's never any fun. The first question I want to ask, drop it in the chat, is in 2026 so far, how many transaction sites have you closed? Right. We are right at the halfway through the year. Like we're about as close as we can get on a Wednesday to being halfway through the year. So how many transaction sites have you closed so far in 2026? If it's 0, just drop 0. That's fine. This isn't a competition. I just want to kind of gauge where everybody's at, whatever that number looks like. So if you've got a transaction and you did both sides, right, count that as 2 transaction sides. That's essentially 2 commission checks. So that would be 2. And again, just drop it in the chat so we kind of know what we're looking at. Angela, new agent, licensed November 2025. Nice. Welcome to the real estate family. You're in a good spot if you're jumping in on these calls already. All right, so we got some. Let's see what we got in the chat here. We got 5, 4, 2 rentals, new agent, but has already closed one that was a personal sale. 6, have a listing where the sale is essentially upside down the home. Those are always rough. Totally get that. 1, 3, 3. Okay, so we've got anywhere from, let's call it, working on my first one to 6 so far for the year. So that's good. And Jessica said 5. So most of you are out there doing something to move your business along. If you didn't answer the question, or if your answer is zero and you're like, well, I don't really want to say zero, but it's zero, that's okay. You're in the right spot, right? Because the goal of this call is to try to help you grow your business. All right. So next question, again, just drop it in the chat. Think about your last three. If you've closed three, if you've only closed one, just use the one. Your last three closings, where did that client come from? Was it Sphere? Was it FSBO? Was it a referral? Right? Whatever it might have been. Your last three transactions, where did those clients come from? As Angela said, her husband. Nice. Hey, listen, take the win, right? I just bought the house that I'm sitting in. I just closed on it in April. Okay, so we did the same thing. I just made gosh, what was the commission on this? I don't even remember because I don't keep track of it that close. That's what my wife is for. She handles all the money. I make it, she spends it. I don't know. It's a $600,000 house, so it's a pretty darn good commission, 15 grand, whatever it was. I had to buy the house anyway, but I still made a great commission. I was able to buy some Epic stock. I did all the things that I do when I close deals, so that was fun. Nothing at all wrong with handling your own transaction and getting paid to be your own agent. There's nothing wrong with that at all. All right, let's see what we got here. So my husband, open house and Sphere ×2. Okay, good. We'll come back to the open houses, Jessica. That's great. Sphere, Mark Spain and Sphere, TikTok and Marketplace. Nice. Facebook and previous client, Sphere, referrals, open house, a friend, Sphere, renter turned into buyer. Those are always great. The renters that learn that they can buy, that's always a wonderful transaction to move them into home ownership. There's a whole strategy that, we might do a call on that, and converting renters to buyers. And Instagram, have deals from leads and open houses. Facebook. Okay, so ironically, we got a good smattering, but really I'm seeing about 4 different things. I'm seeing open houses, Sphere, we'll call social media as one thing, right? Whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Marketplace. Okay, good. What I don't see, which I'm happy about, is paid lead generation sources like Zillow or Realtor, whatever other hubbub is out there. So I'm glad that I don't see a ton of paid lead generation. The ones that are out there closing deals are closing them essentially organically, which is always good. All right, Jessica, I'm going to pick on you first if I could, if you wouldn't mind coming off mute. I want to talk a little bit about your client that came from the open house, because I think a lot of times this is a great.
Hello.
Hey, this is a great, I love that Hawaiian themed leaf shirt too. That's classy. I like that.
Thank you.
So talk us through a little bit about your open house. So was it your listings open house? Was it another agent's open house? How'd you
It was
acquire the open house?
another agent in my office, and I had just spent 5 months. I'm actually in North Carolina right now, where I take care of my grandmother, but I live in Florida, so I'm licensed in both.
Beautiful.
I ended up doing an open house as soon as I got back to Florida to try and get back to generating stuff back when I was home. And I met a couple. They saved my card, and they called me 4 months later when they were pre-approved, ready to go. Showed them 4 houses, and we found a winner.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit, because there's a lot of nuggets in there. That sounds great. So one, for everyone who's listening, something I want you to take from that: she did an open house, and it was not her listing. Right? A lot of people, because just in the byproduct of me chatting with agents all the time, they're like, I don't have any listings to hold an open house. Go talk to the agents in your office. Go talk to the agents in your market, even if they're not in your brokerage. Right? Go call a FSBO and offer to do an open house at the FSBO. Open houses typically work in any market as long as you're doing them well. And there's a way to do them well, and there's a way to just do them, and it's not necessarily well. So Jessica, break down.
I have one secret. I have one secret that I did, and I think this really helped me because I wasn't around. I pull up all the houses in a mile radius. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Sorry, I'm at the drive-through.
No, you're fine.
And I'm going to park. So I ended up pulling up all the houses in a mile radius and made a little notebook, and it said like listing courtesy of. So it had my picture, all the listing info, and if they didn't like, I asked them to give feedback, but if they didn't like it, here's all the houses for sale in a mile, and we can make an appointment another day. And that's how I kind of got those people, I think.
So that's one of the things I always tell an agent to do as they are preparing for their open house. You're light years ahead of the curve there, Jessica. I love that. I always tell people, when you're at the open house, have all of the active comps similar in size, shape, price, area to that house. Because let's be honest, if 8 people come through the open house, 8 people ain't buying the house. Maybe none of those people will buy that house. Statistically speaking, most will not buy the house at the open house. They wind up finding another one. So it's it does a couple things. One, it shows that you worked hard before you ever started working with them because you went the extra mile and you produced, most people that go to the open house, it ain't their first open house. Like they go to open houses on the weekend to see what's going on because they're actively shopping. It sets you apart as an agent who is willing to do more work than the other agent. That's good for you. The other thing it does is when you print that list from your MLS of all of the other properties in the area, your contact information is on it. So even if that particular client is like, well, I don't want to sign in, I don't want to leave you my contact, I don't know you yet, they're going to leave with your information attached to something of value, and they can reach back out later when they're ready. So it's fantastic. I love that. And then did you do any marketing of the open house on social media, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook groups in your area?
I I definitely did. I always make the little flyers and put them up on my socials, and then I know like Nextdoor and things like that. I don't know
Yep.
if I did the marketplace that time, but I definitely did a few Facebook groups. So I
Good.
think that kind of helps. And then I did like the big flag in front of the house and one at the
Oh
end of
yeah.
the street and a few, directionals. So
Did you by chance door knock the neighborhood prior to the open house and personally invite anyone?
well, I did not. And I
Okay.
did, I'll talk to the neighbors like directly next door if I see them outside, but I
Yeah.
kind of still have a whole, I don't really want to go banging on people's doors so much by myself when I'm by myself.
That's fine. That's fine. It's just one more layer, and this is not just for you, but this is for everybody on the call. One more layer to your open house marketing strategy, right? An open house is not about that house. It's a marketing strategy for you to generate appointments, right? Ultimately, that's the goal. And so if you have a flyer or, a little something, you can walk up and down the neighborhood, do a quick door knock and say, hey, we're doing an open house this weekend. If you know anyone you'd love to have as your new neighbor, send them this information. Super low pressure. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to, get their contact info either. If they're interested in doing something, they may ask for your card, but you're really, again, you're leaving them some information about that house. It's got your contact information on it. And you're basically just saying, hey, you get to pick your neighbors. Here's some info
Yeah.
about the house up the road. Tell them to swing by this weekend if they want to. Some will, some won't. That's okay. And then the last thing I'll talk about open houses, you said that they called you 4 months afterwards.
Yes.
Had you reached out to them at all after the open house? No. Okay.
I, I,
So
I did not, and I should have, but I did not.
I'm happy that you got the client. That's kind of a statistical anomaly because 4 months later is a long time for them to reach back out to you. But again, that reinforces the impression that you made. You obviously made a
Well,
great first
I
impression.
guess I did add them to my follow-up boss, so they're getting like little residual emails, but I didn't
Okay.
call them and say kind of
Okay,
really
but
anything
they
direct.
were on a nurture plan though, in
Yeah,
follow-up.
yeah, I guess on my in my follow-up boss. I'm
Okay,
sorry, I guess.
beautiful.
Yes,
That's what a
everyone
good
goes in there.
CRM is there for, is to do the follow-up for you. A phone call 48 hours after the open house to everyone who comes into the open house is a great idea. But if you only make the
I
one call and you don't
I
have
did
an
do one other
automated,
thing.
what's that?
I did do one other thing. I sent everybody a gift card to Starbucks. Thanks for the open house. I made like a flyer and it had a
Nice.
scanning thing, and I said, help yourself. First come, first serve. And I put like $30 on there and just sent it to everybody who attended the
I love
next
that.
day.
That's fantastic. I love it. So a call 48 hours after, just to verbally touch base with, is a little more personal than follow-up boss, right? But if you only make that one call, you're not going to convert much. Your follow-up boss was perfect because they're going to get little touches, little market updates, just little reminders that you're there. And when it's right for them, in this case, it was 4 months later, they reached back out to you and you did some great business. So that's fantastic. All right, beautiful. I love that. I love talking open houses because so many people have this idea that open houses are a waste of time. They are not effective. They don't work. And almost always, when you really break it down, the open house that doesn't work is I threw the sign up 2 hours prior. I sat in the open house for 3 hours. Nothing happened. The end.
Yeah. I try
Now,
and
the
put
open
preparation
house
to
is not
them.
what didn't work. You are what didn't work, right? You didn't do anything. So marketing it ahead of time, door knocking the neighbors, following up with everybody, having something of value to let them leave with your contact information. You did an amazing job with that. And then putting them in an automated follow-up campaign. Everyone who comes and leaves data, whether that's a sign-up sheet, whether you do a little raffle and they have to fill out some info for the raffle. Sometimes that's more effective than a sign-in sheet. Do a raffle of some kind, and they have to sign in so that you know their info for the raffle. Like you could have, for example, you could have raffled off the Starbucks gift card. Or you could have, this is one of the things I like to do with my open houses. There's a granite company in my market, and they make really nice granite quartz. They're a great company, been around for decades. But what they do is they take the leftovers of the cuts and they make granite and quartz lazy Susans. And then they
Ooh.
just donate those to schools for the teachers. They literally give me lazy Susans to raffle at my open house. So it doesn't cost me anything, but it's a wonderful gift for a homeowner to have. And all I do is say, hey, we're going to be raffling this off when the open house is over. Just throw your name and email down and you're entered. And now I've got their info because they're signing up to get something as opposed to this guy just wants my info. And so that can be super valuable. So it doesn't have to be super expensive. It doesn't have to cost you anything. But if you can find a way to attach something of value to them leaving your info, you'll get their info more frequently. And then you did it exactly right. Put them in your CRM, automate the follow-up, keep touching base with them. And maybe a week later, maybe 4 months later, you'll have a client. So fantastic job on the open house. That's a great example of what still works in this market. Appreciate it. Okay, a lot of people said sphere. And so I want to talk about that as well. I'm going to find somebody that I to pick on here, and I'm just looking through the chat. The first person to say SOI was Jeff. Jeff, can you come off mute for a minute? Are you available to chit chat?
Yeah, I'm here.
Beautiful. So you said SOI. Walk me through. Was this a friend, family member, or was this a past client you've been nurturing through a CRM? How did that come about?
Friend, family member.
Perfect. So did they reach out to you because they just knew you were in real estate and they said, I need to do some real estate, or was there some nurture that happened there?
One of the deals was, they knew I was in real estate, and then the other one was a referral. My mother-in-law at the time, she's since retired, was a business owner, and one of her clients' sons was moving from another state to Michigan.
Nice.
And then the other one was my handyman.
Beautiful. Oh, the handyman
Right?
is a great one.
Yeah, he retired. He was in his 90s and moved to Indiana to be closer to family.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So a lot of people, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. A lot of people, when they say or hear the word sphere, they do immediately think of mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle. Like that sphere category in their mind is very, very closed. If you're proactive in expanding your sphere, it will be people like your handyman, fellow business owners in your market, your CPA, your financial advisor, right? We talk about strategic partnerships. Once you've built those partnerships, they should be in your sphere as well. And then this is the data on this is mind-boggling. I forgot what the last stats were because I haven't looked at them in a couple of years, but it's overwhelming. The vast majority of buyers and sellers, when they were surveyed by NAR a couple of years ago, I'm talking like 85%, might have been 87%. They said we would absolutely use our agent again, but less than 50% use the same agent twice. What do you think?
That's because
Go ahead, Jeff.
Lack of follow-up, lack of systems.
Follow-up. 100%. That's what I was going to say is what do you think the gap there is? It's a lack of follow-up 100%. So most agents are sitting on a database, whether it's officially in a CRM or not, right? You're sitting on a database, which is your highest ROI conversion possibilities is past clients, friends and family, business associates, and you're not even not you, Jeff, but agents in general, you're not even talking to them.
Right.
Most people, when they realize the value of their database, their sphere, and they start leaning in on just little touch points, right? Again, use your CRM, whether it's Follow Up Boss, whether you're at Epic and you've got Lofty, whatever you got, even if it's an Excel spreadsheet and you just open it once a week. A text campaign, a market update once a week or once a month, right? A little touch points, an offer to do a courtesy CMA on your previous buyer's home so they know what it's worth nowadays. So many people are missing not only repeat business, but referral business, because once the transaction closes, they completely forget about all those past clients and they never put their sphere, friends, family, colleagues, business owners, other partners that you use, they never put them into any sort of follow-up campaign. That's literally the highest ROI that you can do in terms of any sort of touch points in prospecting, and most people don't do it at all. It's a huge piece. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. The other thing about and then we'll move on to another topic. So many people say, well, I don't want to be salesy to my friends, or my past clients just bought a house, they don't need me right now. They should still be getting some kind of valuable, keyword, right? Valuable touch point from you. Even if it's just a text every couple of weeks that says, "Happy Friday. I hope you have an amazing weekend. What do you got planned?" Right? You're not trying to sell your buyer who just bought their house last year. You're not trying to sell them real estate, right? They just bought their house. It'll probably statistically be 5, 6, 8, 10 years before they need to sell that house. But that's a long time for them to constantly remember who you are when they're out there living life in their new house for 8 years. If you're not in front of them, they will forget who you are. And then they'll just go find another agent when the time comes because they don't remember you. That's a real thing. And so it doesn't have to be salesy, but it does have to be consistent value-added touch points so that they remember that you're the guy in real estate they should reach out to. And you will get referral business through that. I'll give you guys one more example about how valuable your database can be, and then we'll move on. So I'm in Florida now. I started my real estate career in Virginia. And when I left Virginia, I decided to sell my real estate business to another agent who was looking to scale their business up. And so it's a little bit complex, but it's absolutely doable. So one of the, they look at past tax records to see how much income your business is generating, things like that. One of the metrics that the company who valuated my real estate business in order to tell the other agent, this is how much you have to buy it for, one of the metrics they used to determine the value of my business was my actual, no kidding, database and how well was I maintaining it. Like, how many contacts are in it? When was the last touch point of the contacts? How are you staying engaged with the people you've done business with before? Because there's so much value in repeat and referral business there that it was literally a metric in the valuation of my business when I sold it. And it was, I obviously was maintaining a really good database. So it was a big portion of why I was able to sell my business for so much money, because it matters. So do not neglect your database. If you don't have anyone in your CRM under that kind of sphere category, what I would say to you is you need to take a couple hours and just scroll through your phone. Open up the contacts, start at A, and start going through your phone. And you'd be amazed how many people would be like, oh yeah, I know that they're great. I haven't talked to them in months or years. Reach back out, re-engage, get them in a CRM, get them on a consistent follow-up plan. It'll work wonders for your business. So that's for everybody. That's not just for Jeff. Jeff's just proving that it works because he's out there closing deals with it. Okay. Angela, you said my husband. I get that one. We don't need to talk about how that works. I think everybody gets that for sure. Who said TikTok and Marketplace? I'm going to butcher your name. I apologize. Is that Lachey? Did I get it right? Give her a minute. Lachey, if you can you come off mute? Let's talk a little bit about social. Oh, it looks like she might have dropped off the call. Oh no. Okay, well, we can't pick on Lachey because she jumped off. She's like, they're talking. I'm out. I'm not doing it. You guys have heard me talk about Facebook Marketplace a lot. I don't talk about TikTok as much because I know I don't look like it, but I'm older and I'm not on TikTok that much. But TikTok, Instagram, absolutely, you can do tons of business on there. I like Facebook Marketplace because Facebook demographics are a little bit older population. And so they're out there, they're buying, they're selling, they're not so young that they're just breaking into their finances and getting situated to buy. So Facebook Marketplace can be great. Facebook groups are phenomenal. And don't just, this is the thing I tell people all the time, don't just kind of scroll through. Your social media prospecting should be daily focused workflow. Not, I'm on Facebook today, let me see if I find something, but you should have a plan for how you are going to engage your community through whatever social media you choose, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, what's the most people don't consider it a social media, but it's great. It's for the neighborhoods. The name eludes me all of a sudden. I'll come back to that. It'll pop into my head. But whatever mechanisms you are using to talk to people, it should be very, very intentional. Neighborhood, thank you. Yes, that's it. Next door was what I was thinking. Yeah, next door, not neighborhood. Thank you. That's it exactly. Next door is actually kind of a hidden treasure trove right now because most people, they are aware of the big social medias, right? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those. And they're not necessarily looking at Nextdoor yet. It's still kind of coming into its own. And it is a very, very hyper local thing. Whereas obviously, yeah, Pinterest can be great too, Rhonda. Thank you for that. Social media in general can be a very widespread thing, right? Anybody can see your content from anywhere. It just depends on what the algorithm is doing. Nextdoor is very hyper local. Like you have to join the groups specific to your neighborhood. And the content and the posts that are going in there are literally the people in your immediate community. So that can be a lot of fun. But don't just kind of post and pray. Have a specific tailored plan for what you're going to do on social media, when you're going to do it, and make it part of your actual prospecting workflow. At 9 a.m., I'm going to jump on social and I'm going to comment on some local posts. I'm going to engage in my local community groups. I'm going to go through at 2 p.m. and I'm going to instant message everyone who engaged with me, and I'm going to help build those initial reactions into more of a relationship that I can nurture, right? There's some specifics to how we want to do that. If you're just scrolling, you're kind of wasting your time. You're not going to get much out of that. And then we've talked about Marketplace enough, right? Being on Marketplace, being actively posting listings on Marketplace, sharing those into Facebook groups that you're local to. That's always going to be a great way. And you're just using your content to start conversations. And then again, the follow-up nurtures the conversation into a bigger relationship. So that's always good. And then you can almost think of, if you thought about if you think about the old school geographic farming, right? I'm going to take just listed, just sold, just pending data from an area, and I'm going to go call somebody or door knock a neighborhood and say, hey, I just want to let you know this is happening in your neighborhood. You can do that same active, what we used to call circle prospecting, and you can apply that to your social media with local market updates, right? Based on zip code. Almost every single realtor association or MLS has data that they generate already within those systems that you have access to that will give you a monthly market snapshot by county or by zip code, right? So I can simply take what is already built, doll it up a little bit how I want it, post it into my local specific groups where it's valuable, right? Because if I'm in Clay County, the Clay County market data isn't necessarily as useful to someone living in Alachua County. Granted, it's only a 30-minute drive away, but it's different statistical data. So you can use what's already there and post it in those Facebook groups as something of value to gauge. And it's always a good idea. Ask a question. What do you think about this? What price point would you sell at? What interest rate would you decide to buy at, right? Engage, ask some questions and engage. So social media, literally think of it less as social and think of it more as prospecting. Just like we used to cold call a neighborhood or we used to door knock a neighborhood. Those are still actually very, 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 very valuable as well. Like those still work. But a lot of people are like, I just don't want to knock on people's door. I'm not comfortable with that. Some people are, some people aren't. That's okay. But you can essentially digitally door knock your neighborhood through social media. So there's a lot that you can do there, and you will generate great business in that regard. Okay, sorry, let's get back to our list. So Facebook and previous clients, sphere, referrals to open house, friend, renter turned into buyer. Those are great. I'm just looking through, make sure I didn't miss any. Booking open houses around the same time as other open houses. Yep, absolutely, because you get more people out. You guys got good. I'm excited to see so many people engaging with the open house strategies, because they still absolutely work. You really want to make that an event and not just a singular thing that you did. Okay, cool. Let's pause there for a second. What else are you guys doing? What else is, do you have questions about a strategy, or what other strategies are you executing to generate your business consistently? I didn't talk about my last few transactions, but that's okay. I wanted to really hear from the group. My last couple came from referrals from my sphere. And even though it's kind of my sphere, I'm very intentional about my strategic partnerships, and that's kind of different. I have a closing this Friday, and that listing came from my estate attorney partner. So those strategic partnerships are always still valuable. What I typically tell people is relationships are always going to generate business, no matter what the interest rates are, no matter what the market dynamics are, no matter what is going on in geopolitics. At the end of the day, the relationships you nurture will be what turns into business. It's simply a matter of how you choose to establish and grow those relationships, right? You can build relationships through social. You can build relationships face-to-face at open houses. You can build relationships by calling FSBOs or withdrawn listings or expired listings and adding some value to that. That's a great one right now. I always harp on FSBOs. You guys know I love working with FSBOs and expired and withdrawn listings. We're seeing more and more expired and withdrawn listings right now because the market has shifted, right? We've gone from, if I breathe on a listing, it sells, to interest rates are higher, buyers are slowing down, there's more inventory than there used to be, but there's not more buyers. So supply and demand has shifted. A lot of markets have moved from a really hot seller's market to a more neutral market. Some markets are more of a buyer's market now. And so what happens is those listings that jumped in before they adapted to that shift, they can get a little behind the power curve, and then now their house is sitting, and they either decide to take it off the market, it expires, or they decide to withdraw it and wait. And FSBOs are no different, right? FSBOs are struggling right now too, because they're still just a seller fighting a market dynamic that they don't understand, right? We as agents understand that markets are cyclical and they shift. But a FSBO might have been thinking, well, I've watched all these houses sell like hotcakes 2 years ago. That's what'll happen to mine. And then they put their house on the market FSBO, and they already don't have the reach. They don't have the MLS. They don't have the marketing strategies. They might have priced it wrong. They might have did photos poorly, right? They might not have really understood how to sell a house. That's not their fault. They just don't know what they don't know. And so a lot of FSBOs are struggling right now too. So whether it's FSBO, expired, withdrawn, reaching out to them and adding some value in a dynamic shifting market like this can be a huge way to generate more listings for you. So don't miss that opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity too. Angela said in the chat, Lofty has a weekly plan for you're looking to start. Yeah, Lofty has some phenomenal, almost set it and forget it plans that you can use. Most CRMs have some. If you're an Epic agent, Lofty is our CRM. If you're not an Epic agent, you might have KV Core if you're at EXP. You might have Follow Up Boss if you're somewhere else, right? There's a lot of good. Most of the big CRMs have some built-in automated campaigns, right? Buyer campaigns, seller campaigns, sphere of influence campaigns. And they may not be perfectly suited to how you like to talk to people, but you can go in and adjust them a bit. You can make your own. Obviously, they're not overly complex, but you might just start with turning on the campaigns that already exist and then assigning that campaign to your sphere so they get something. Something is always going to be better than nothing in the nurture world. I thought about going to a coffee shop and hosting buyer seller Q&A sort. That's a wonderful idea. Anytime you can get out in your community and just say, hey, I'm just going to be here, swing by, grab a cup of coffee. If you've got questions, ask them. Worst case, you'll sit and have a nice cup of coffee. Who doesn't like a good cup of coffee? Best case, you'll spark some engagement in your community because people will see what you're doing. And best case, you'll pick up a client because they like you after the Q&A. Nothing wrong with that at all. Leanna said, viewing myself as a builder rep partner and promoting all the new construction homes in the area. Absolutely. Obviously, not everyone has new construction homes. I live in a slightly more rural market, so the newest new construction areas for me is 30, 45 minutes away. But if you are in an area where they are building and new construction homes are coming in, that should absolutely be in your weekly routine to reach out to those, either be the builder's rep or reach out to the builder's agent and say, hey, I saw, 123 Main Street's about to go. It looks like the construction finishes in August. Can I do some proactive social media marketing and see if I can find some buyers for your new builds? They're almost always going to say yes to that. Market the properties, offer to open open house at the property, do some social media video walkthroughs if you want. Put that listing on Marketplace and push it out into your local community groups and see if anybody is interested. There's so much you can do. There's this stigma sometimes that builders and agents don't work well together, right? Because builders have their own process, they have their own contracts, they do things a little differently than the average buyer and seller. But dive into that community and make some relationships. You will find that there's lots of business that you can be doing with builders reps. And most builders, especially now in this market dynamic, they're absolutely paying agents, their commission. So you don't have to worry about that for the most part. How do you add value to FSBOs? What can you offer them? Oh man, we do a whole, we could speak on this for an hour on itself. I do an entire course on FSBO. So I'll make sure that we get you the replay of our last one. So a couple things you can do for FSBOs, expireds, withdrawals. Number one, make it very clear when you call them that you're not trying to convince them to do anything they don't want to do. So for example, I start my FSBO calls with, hey, listen, I know you're probably getting calls all day long from other agents trying to convince you that you should list your house with them. That's not what I'm here for. I don't even want to talk about listing your house. I just called because I've helped owners in your position create some options, and I'd love to work with you if I can. Are you open to a conversation about that? And that immediately brings the wall down, because FSBOs and expired listings, they get bombarded sometimes by salesy schmucks. And so you want to just address that right ahead and say, I'm not trying to convince you to do what you don't want to do. I'm not trying to force you to list your house with me. I just like to add value to people. And I've worked with people like what you've got going on in the past. Let's talk. And you just walk through, can I bring you a buyer? Are you open to working with me if I bring you a buyer and a great deal on your house? They almost always say yes to that. In my whole career in both Virginia and Florida, the years that I've been in real estate, I think I've only had 2 times where a FSBO said to me flat out, I am not working with any agents. Twice in hundreds of transactions. So that's not, I mean, that they know that they're going to work with a buyer's agent. So it's a very easy question to ask them because they're going to say yes to it. And then say, well, great, listen, if I'm going to try to bring you a buyer, would you mind if I did a little proactive marketing on my social media to try to find you the right buyer? And, I'll save you the time and headache of the tire kickers. I will screen them, vet them, make sure that they are properly pre-approved and actually able to buy your house. And I won't waste your time with a showing until I know they're ready to buy. Can I do a little marketing to try to find the right buyer? They almost always say yes to that. Great. Well, if we're going to do a little marketing, would it be okay if we met at the house for 15 minutes one day this week? I'd love to get some video content because these days video content really drives marketing. I don't need anything from you other than access to the house. In 15 minutes, I'll grab some video content. Can we do that? Gives you an opportunity to get in front of them and add a little more value and get some video content for your marketing. Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no, right? You can offer to host an open house for them. Hey, listen, if I'm going to be trying to find the right buyers anyway, I don't want you to have to constantly be juggling your schedule. If I got buyers that want to see this, would you be open to me just hosting an open house for you one of these weekends? And that way I can kind of funnel all the buyers in at the same time. Would that be helpful for you? Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no, that's okay. But you just kind of walk down that value proposition until they say, nope, I don't need you to do that. Do everything else. So when you offer to market a house for them, put that listing on Facebook Marketplace, push it out into all your local Facebook community groups, right? The groups in your market where that house logically would have people maybe buying in the area. Just market the crap out of their FSBO listing in order to generate conversations with people you can screen, vet, make sure they're pre-approved with your lender or a lender, unless they're cash buyers, and then verify they're actual cash buyers. And just start building relationships with people that want to buy houses. The beautiful thing about this is sometimes you find the right buyer for the house and the FSBO loves you to death. They become a referral partner after the deal closes. Yes, I have a script I'll send. I'll drop it in the chat in a minute. Maybe you don't find a buyer for that FSBO at all, but in marketing that FSBO, you generate other qualified buyers that you go out and shop with and close deals with. And then what ultimately happens most of the time, if you do this right and you consistently follow up, a lot of time those FSBOs realize you're working harder for them and they're not even your client, then they can work for themselves because there's so much that goes into the process, they don't understand it. And so eventually what usually happens, it's not a perfect science and not every single FSBO is going to do this, but more often than not, the FSBO will actually ask you at some point, hey, what would it look like if you just listed this for us? You know, we really need to move. We want to get with the grandbabies. They're in Georgia. We're in Florida. What does it look like if you sell this house for us? How much does it cost me for you to sell my house? There's some kind of variation of that, right? And then once they ask the question, well, you're not going to tell them, no, thanks, I don't want to sell your house, right? You're going to be like, hey, you know what? I would love to have that conversation. Would it be valuable for us to meet and just kind of walk over what I do to market a property and we'll just kind of talk about it all? Set a listing appointment, a formal listing appointment, go back, have a conversation with them and sell their house. You'd be amazed how many times you can list a FSBO if you don't ask to list a FSBO. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but when you just focus on, let me help you, I'll add value, I don't need anything from you, I want to help you, they usually come to the realization on their own that you're the person that's going to get it done for them because you're working harder for them than any other agent that's ever called them. You're doing more for them than they can do for themselves. And eventually they get to a point where they're just tired of trying to do this on their own. And they're like, hey, well, what would it look like if you just sold this for me? And then you just have a conversation. And at that, the beautiful thing is at that point, they've already decided they want you to sell the house. You don't have to convince them that you're the agent to list it. They've already made the choice. You just go talk to them. Here's what I want to do. Here's our timeline. Here's how this works. Are you good with this? Let's sign a listing agreement. We'll get this thing going. I just dropped for anyone who wants it, I just dropped a Google Drive in the chat of some FSBO resources that I've used for agents. There's a script or two in there. I think there's actually a recording from the previous FSBO coaching call in there. So that should give you a really solid start on FSBO. Sorry, we got on a side tangent on FSBOs. I love that conversation. There's so much business to be done by reaching out to FSBOs. You generate buyer clients, you generate other listing clients. You sometimes list the FSBOs. Sometimes you just close deals with the FSBOs. Sometimes you never list the FSBO, but you generate business anyway. There's zero downside to approaching it from this angle. It's a lot of fun. Okay, let's take the last few minutes here. Let's talk about some listing strategies. We won't dive super deep into this, but we are in a shifting market and a lot of listings are either not getting priced appropriately, they're sitting longer than the seller thinks they should, not necessarily that you think they should. And so as you're doing your listing appointments, listing presentations, one of the key things you can do to really help you put your best foot forward in both selling the house and having a good quality conversation with the sellers, set realistic expectations based on honest assessments of the market as it is. Right? For example, if you go look at sold data in your neighborhood from a year ago, I venture to say in almost every market, you might be an outlier. Almost every market, the days on market from active to pending is probably significantly less than your days on market for active listings right now. Why does that matter? Because if you're telling your client, oh yeah, we'll get it on the market, the goal will be under contract in a couple of weeks, and then at 30 to 45 days to close, you're shooting yourself in the foot because that seller is going to think, Walt's going to sell my house in 2 weeks. Now, I might, if I price it properly and I market it aggressively, I might. But if the average days on market in my market is 47 days, 71 days, right, 65 days, whatever it is, I don't want to tell this client, hey, listen, I'm going to sell your house in 2 weeks. I want to give them the realistic expectation. Hey, right now in this area, the average days on market is 67 days, 6, 7 for the young crowd, right? I have a 13-year-old, so that's a big deal. So if the average days on market is 67, that means some people are selling much faster and some people are selling much slower. Obviously, we want to put ourselves as best as possible on the faster side of that. So we need to price it really smart so that we're not competing against a bunch of other active listings that are priced better, and therefore those are going to sell before you do. So let's talk about realistic pricing in order to have a realistic expectation of when we sell. You used to be able to look at sold comps and go, everything sold for this price, that's your list price. I would challenge you, again, almost every market, bring some active competition to your listing appointment and walk your client through, this is what sold comps say, but this is our current active competition. And if you want to sell your house faster, we have to either show how we're better or we have to be priced smarter. So apples to apples, these are very similar homes. And you said you really want to be with the grandbabies in a month and a half. Here's why I would suggest we price here versus here, because there will be a difference between sold comps and active competition, usually in a fluctuating market. Don't overlook bringing those active competition listings with you and having that conversation. Okay, we got to set the right expectations, not only to get the house sold, because at the end of the day, that's the goal, but also so that we're not frustrating our client. And now they're like, you know what? You said 2 weeks, it's been 2 months, take it off the market, I'm done. It's not that they don't like you, it's that they're frustrated because the expectations no longer match reality. And now they want to, because again, anytime there's inaction or confusion, or anytime there's fear or confusion, there's inaction. And so you will inadvertently cause people to want to expire their listings or withdraw their listings by setting the wrong expectations. So just be mindful of that, right? Go in eyes wide open and be honest with them. Hey, listen, the market is a little tougher now. There's some things we can do to make sure that we're marketing aggressively. Like we'll do great photos. We'll do video walkthroughs. I'll do a 2D floor plan. I'll post this all over social. I'll have it on Marketplace. I'm going to do a lot more for you than most agents will do, but understand that the market has shifted. These 3 comps are your active competition, and they're all similar size, similar square foot, similar condition. This one's been on the market for 112 days already. They overpriced it. This one sold similar price, similar size, similar shape. It's sold in 17 days. Notice the difference in price of what's on the market lingering and what's selling. Where would you like to be? On the market lingering or sold? Show them that data and walk them through it. It builds the trust when you walk them through the data rather than just tell them what it is. Kind of educate them on what you're looking at. It goes a long way. The other thing I would say is, for your listing appointments, have a plan to adjust your listing prices before you ever list the home, right? So you walk in, you explain days on market, you explain sold prices, you explain active competition, you explain how the market dynamics are working. And you say, I recommend this price point. What do you think? And if they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Or could we try a little bit higher? Because that one 3 weeks ago sold a little bit higher. Have a conversation about what a reduction strategy looks like in order to get their house sold before it's really in that death spiral where they're ultimately going to lose money because it sat on the market too long, right? And depending on your specific market and what the days on market looks like, that could be something like, hey, we can start here. It's a little higher than what we might want to, but we can start here. But what we need to do is put in writing in our listing agreement terms, every 3 weeks, we're going to reduce the price by X dollar amount until we are either at this price point or we're under contract. And that way we know we're going to capture the right buyer dynamic as quickly as we can, and you're not going to linger and ultimately lose money, right? So in a really hot seller's market, you don't necessarily need that. But in a buyer's market where it's easy to overprice the house inadvertently because things are shifting. You can say something like, hey, we're going to 379.9 is kind of the right spot. And they're like, well, we were really hoping to try for 400. Okay, listen, if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to list it at 400 as long as we have a proper strategy to get your house sold. And that might be every 3 weeks, we reduce the price $5,000 until we are at 379.9 or we're under contract. Right. And you can, again, based on your price point, based on your market dynamics, you can figure out what those numbers look like, but have that conversation ahead of time, because what you don't want to do is the seller's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, sure. And then you list the house and 3 weeks goes by and you're like, listen, we haven't gotten any showings. We're not getting the attention. I thought my social media marketing is not getting the interest. We're overpriced. We need to make an adjustment. And they're like, well, could we just give it a few more weeks? If you have it in writing ahead of time when you list the house, you don't get these emotional decisions. We're going to drive this train based on the data and what's best for you. I know in 3 weeks, price adjustment. 3 weeks, price adjustment. We don't have to get emotional about it. We're going to rock out our plan and we're going to get your home sold. So be mindful of that. Those two things alone, setting realistic expectations based on your market dynamics, walking your client through what that looks like, and then having a plan for your pricing and marketing strategy before you ever have them sign the listing agreement will help you from getting these stagnant listings that have been on the market 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. And then ultimately, your seller is going to lose money on that because they're paying a mortgage every month. Someone's going to look at a 7-month-old house, or even depending on the market, right, a 95 days on market. And they're going to go, well, it obviously ain't worth that price. It's been on the market for 75 days. Let's offer them 95% of the list price. And they lose money in that regard, right? So just be mindful of that. Open communication. Do your best to educate your listing client rather than just talk to them about what you want to do. Educate them about why you think it's the right decision. And 9 times out of 10, when you show them what your thought process is based on the market data, they naturally come to that same decision. So just bear that in mind. Okay, any other last minute questions, thoughts, concerns? Let me just double check the chat. But if you guys have anything else, jump in. I'm just looking through real quick. Felicia says she has a client that's looking at something similar. That's a tough one when they're super tight on equity and they have no room to move. That's and it looks like you've already looked at Edge, so that's not a good fit for them. Got it. We should talk more about that one and see if maybe there's something we're missing offline. There's a lot going on there for sure. Do I have language to use? And really simple, Angela. So you might say in the other remarks of your listing agreement, seller agrees that home will be reduced in price in $5,000 increments every 3 weeks until list price is at 379.9 or home is under contract. That's just something simple like that. Doesn't have, there's no specific verbiage. Just make it very clear that you and the seller have agreed this is what we're going to adjust the price by. This is how often we're going to make those adjustments. And this is the metric we're getting to when we stop making the adjustments, either the right price or under contract, we stop making the adjustments. And don't overthink it, but just have some verbiage in there. So when they sign their listing agreement, they are signing that they agree that's the strategy. Put it right in the listing agreement. And then Jeff, I see your note there, buddy, about not being able to download the Google Drive docs. Let me just double check it. And it should be open to the public, but if not, just message me separately and we'll get you a copy of it. I don't know why it's doing that. Give me just 1 second. Check the old share permissions here to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I appreciate it. I tried several times and I thought, well, maybe he's got it locked or something.
Yeah, it looks like it says that anyone can view it. So you should be able to, if you can view it, you should be able to click the little 3 dots on the top and download a copy of it. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to take just the FSBO script by itself, not the whole drive, but just the script PDF. I dropped that in the chat private message to you. Let me know if you can open that. And again, if you can't, just shoot me a message offline. I'll make sure that you get it. No big deal. We got you covered, man. All right, we only got 5 minutes left here. So any other questions, thoughts, comments, concern? Hopefully this was value to everybody just to have a conversation about what the market is doing, some strategies that are still working. The punchline is relationships still sell houses. It's just a matter of how you choose to build those relationships, and you have to nurture those relationships with some kind of automated follow-up, or you're going to miss business. Be it your clients, your friends, your family, your business colleagues, your previous clients. I think I said clients already, but previous, like already closed clients. Use some kind of automated follow-up plan, because you will ultimately get busy and you'll forget to follow up with people. You want to automate that process so that you don't miss opportunities. There's so much business to be done there. Don't miss it. Build the relationships, nurture the relationships, and then be patient as they come to fruition. We don't get to choose a buyer or a seller's timeline. All we can choose is how often we're in front of them adding value. Okay. Any other last minute questions, thoughts, concerns before we wrap up? Going once. Going twice. All right. You guys have a fantastic week. Think about this. If you're not already on the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter. We send the replay out every Friday. I'll tell you what we'll do as well is I'll make sure the Google Drive to the FSBO resources gets into the newsletter in case anybody wants to grab those and they didn't already get the link. We'll get that over to you guys. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Go out there and make some business happen. You guys take care.